Welcome to the end of the carrot of Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. We have, at Roger Rabbit Commentaries, achieved 42%, so less than half of the gettable things in this game have been gotten
The many
by your
faces of
commentators.
Crash.
It's like, and Coco. The main stars. Gasp. Inquisitive. Really triumphant. Aww.
No, she's angry, Mr. Cloud. Come on.
Brought to you by Toys for Bob. Dr. Neo Cortex. Mad scientist.
I like that sinister grimace that he's got there. Dingo Dial with his vacuum gun.
Dingo Dial. Some wonderful illustrations here. Dial. Yeah.
Evil smile.
Yeah. And I believe Tana is the
Tana's the
final
last
one here. Yep, Tana's the final one. Easily everybody's favorite character picking up Crash Bandicoot 4 is the redesign for Tana. You know, they give her a dimensional shift too, but they don't pay any heed to her original design from Crash Bandicoot 1, which they
that's
had.
because although we get to see her on a pillow, she's not otherwise here.
A pillow. Going through the E motions. So that was a brief glimpse through the character gallery, and you can view the character gallery via the start menu from the world map. It is nice. I think I'm all set with doing the final cinematic there. What we aim to accomplish here is to go over
Finally,
the credits.
Go through the credits.
Brought to you by Toys for Bob. Who is Bob? Screw you. That's who Bob is.
Oh, right. We also do the disclaimer in the background, which is actually really nice. Unfortunately, you don't have subtitles on, so we can't have the subtitles tell us what the disclaimer is actually saying.
I'm actually glad that there are no subtitles for the disclaimer. Because, of course, it would be difficult to read the subtitles if you have other text in the background that's scrolling upwards at the same time.
Right. So
I did enjoy playing through Crash Bandicoot 4 for the most part. Earlier, as I was just getting my feet wet with the game, learning the new levels, getting used to, and also wrapping my head around, like, wow, it has been 20 years since I had to learn a new Crash Bandicoot level. It was something I had not experienced for that period. That I was getting used to the idea, not in my head, okay, so this is all that these levels can be, is as they design them, and I'm going to accept these as canon. That's coming from a player who, of course, grew up with Crash Bandicoot. Now, I am a member of just one population of players that approach this game. They're likely players who pick this game up having never played a Crash Bandicoot game, not even Crash Insane Trilogy. Although it's highly recommended that you pick up Crash Insane Trilogy because it will get you used to the frame rate and the way that the levels look, although nothing really can prepare you for the new stuff that they throw at you in this game, which makes some departures, only a few though, and the rest is just learning the new levels, all 25 of the levels, the bosses, the checkpoints between the bosses. And then later on in the playthrough, I realized there's only so much I'm willing to put up with before I realize I'm getting too frustrated. For example, which is why we did not go over any of the flashback tapes. I completed all but the final flashback tape. I looked up a guide video to see how the heck do you go through the final flashback tape. And then when I saw the process of going through the final flashback tape, I dismissed it outright and said, no, I know that I'm capable of doing this. I know that if I put in the time and practice that I could do it. I'm not going to do it, though, because that is a tremendous time commitment and I have other things to do. Like the rest of the game, for example.
Look, playing through Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, as a casual player, is actually a really good experience that I personally would recommend, at least from what I have seen, what I have heard, what I have watched, and what I have experienced through other people's testimony, opinions, and from what I have seen through this playthrough. It is a very good experience to go through on modern as a good action platformer collectathon. But every single one of those people that have praised this game to high heavens also come with the caveat: do not, for any reason, attempt to 100% Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. Because the amount of padding that there is in 100%ing this game is way too goddamn much. And even then, even if they took out like half the padding, this game would still be 20 hours fucking long for an action platformer. And it really doesn't and as good as it is on a casual run through, this should not eat up 20 hours of your time. The stages end up being extremely long, especially when you have to do them multiple times. When you're just going through them on an insanely perfect run, they only take somewhere between 4 and 5 minutes usually. But if you're skilled enough in order to get an insanely perfect run on the latter half of the stages, you've been there for an hour already. Because of the shit that you're trying to memorize and avoid. It takes a lot of time and effort in order to figure out what you need to do, when, and why, and you need all of that information available effectively at hand in order to get insanely perfect relics, and you need the insanely perfect relics for completion bonuses. Do not 100% this game. If you find a costume that you want, try and get that costume, because spending an hour getting that costume is probably worth it. But even then, there are specific levels that are just not worth going for the 100% rewards for. Cortex Castle is the hardest platforming segment in any Crash Bandicoot game, fucking period. And the fact that you have to do it twice in order to get completion bonuses is absolutely fucking nuts, especially because it's different layouts on the second run. There are a lot of negatives that it comes to actually doing completion for this, so don't. Play this game casually, get what you want, and then put it the fuck down. Getting 42% is actually slightly higher than I would wager I would end up getting on a casual run of my own. I don't think that on a casual run of my own I would end up getting more than about 30% in this game, specifically because not necessarily the hidden gems, but the less than 3 deaths gems on each level would drive me fucking bonkers. This is a good video game. It is a very good casual run through, but don't go for 100%. It is not worth your time. We didn't even show off the relic challenges, and to get platinum relics specifically, as we mentioned during the preamble to the multiplayer, you have to be constantly doing the triple spin because you need that speed bonus in order to get the platinum times, and it's fucking nuts. And on release, the game actually had really wonky hitboxes, specifically with Polar. We didn't show it off so much with the Raptor because we were only in the Raptor section for about 2 minutes. But with Polar, we did show it off a little bit there, where he was able to hit 3 of 4 boxes despite being, just slightly off center for it, which was really fucking confusing. It is really easy to end up tilting Crash during the Polar section of Bears Repeating, in order to just miss boxes. And if you miss boxes during that segment, you have to replay the entire level. Because that's what getting insanely perfect means. It's getting all of the boxes without dying. It's not worth it for most of the levels in the game.
Definitely a cause for bragging rights and celebration. Like, hey, look at me! I got a video of me doing this. You don't feel
like celebrating when you get it done, though, is the big problem, because you spend an hour
not at
doing
first.
it.
I look back on some of my greatest gaming achievements, like completing Dark Souls, for example. Yeah, the last thing that I wanted to do was, put on a smile and say, "Yay, I did it." I was more what I felt during times like that was relief.
Yeah.
Which is a different emotion than jubilation.
Right.
The jubilation came much later. After you calm down and you realize, okay, all this time spent preparing and practicing for this moment, that is now done. Now I can just relish in the glory. Yeah, I bet it feels good. and I do want to take this time to thank the people who put together guide videos, who pioneered the way so that other people could follow along and, for example, learn some of the more difficult feats of accomplishment in this game. the flashback tapes, for example. I needed someone else to do it first. So, while Rocket Rabbit will not be your first person to do it right, Rocket Rabbit is here to show you that if you feel like doing it, then, yeah.
It can be done. It might not be worth it, but it can be done.
Now, having done this whole project and then taking up in the first place, I am glad that I did pick up Crash Bandicoot 4. I think that every person who played the Crash Bandicoot series growing up like I did would pick this up and should keep an open mind that it is a bit of a departure from playing the original classics. You're never going to recreate the sensation of playing the classic games. The graphical difference, the market at the time, could you be playing this or could you be playing that? I mean, yeah, this Crash Bandicoot is now no longer the shining spotlight of action platformers if it ever had it in the first place. There are way more other.
For the Sony side, Crash is arguably still the poster child for action platforming. Spyro is great, mind you, but it's not really action platforming. It's an action collectathon. It has platforming elements, but it's not really an action platformer. Whereas Crash has always been a collectathon certainly, but it's an action platformer first.
So this is a game franchise also that not only took liberties with the style of game that it was going for, but also for the polish that. This is for lack of a better word, one of the more adult-themed Crash Bandicoot games that has ever come out, and it makes sense because the people, again, like me, who played Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and 3 on the PS1, they're all grown up now. Time has passed, and it's about fucking time. Yes, the pun stance. It's about time that they actually made a canon sequel to the original trilogy.
I mean, there was Crash 4, but for some reason we don't want to acknowledge that, and I don't know why. I mean, Wrath of Cortex has got problems with its load time, certainly, but it's a mostly fine action platformer.
I was going to say, too, that the mainstay mechanics that Crash Bandicoot players have come to rely on with the game itself is also found here. For example, the dying and resets in the reset system. You die. You see a little animation, screen fades to black, you get another chance from the checkpoint that you last started on. Yeah, that is about as that has always been good and thumbs up solid with Crash Bandicoot games, is that retrying, which is the most difficult part of playing Crash Bandicoot, is accepting that if at first you fail, you try again. Yeah, thank goodness you don't have to wait that long in between retrials.
Right.
On the other hand, though, loading levels in this game actually does take quite a bit of time. I think it takes more time.
You're playing on the PS4, right? Or
this is the PS4 port of the game. Yeah.
Yeah, and the PS4 port is notorious for having 20-second load times in between each level startup.
Oh, dude, sometimes as long as like 32 seconds.
Yeah.
See, the load times that I showed during this playthrough was to spare ourselves, 30 seconds of purgatory every single time we started a new level. I cut it down to about 7 seconds each.
Okay.
Just to acknowledge that there are load times. There is a picture that you get to look at while you're waiting for the level to load, which is new, by the way. Previous Crash Bandicoot games didn't really do that. It's just a lot of times you're either like looking at the stage select room that you're in, or the world map, or you're just looking at a black screen with the name of the level on it.
Crash 2 was the warp room transition. So was Crash 3, wasn't it? Yeah, Crash 3 was the warp room transition as well.
That differences and steps in a new direction have been taken, and these are welcome changes. It helps it feel like more of a modern game and not just another Crash Bandicoot game. And, well, just like listening to your favorite music artist who, for example, began in the late 90s and they're still putting out records in the 2020s or the 2030s, whenever people come back to their material, that they also step in a new direction.
Soon.
It's coming. As of this recording, it hasn't come yet, but it's coming. Because time is always moving forward. Time, my friends, yes. With Crash Bandicoot, you get good times, you get times, you get, yeah, like as you were saying, Mr. Greta, you get frustrating times, and also the dismissed times. Like, for example, not taking on a 100% challenge unless you're absolutely damn sure that you want to put like 100 hours into a Crash Bandicoot game just to get it all done.
All right. So the question becomes, Mr. Cloud, are either of the two of us capable of doing Crash Bash?
I don't think I am.
I'm relatively certain that I am also not capable of it because I get to like the third world and then a couple of the gem and crystal challenges just get a bit too absurd for me to do single player, and I could not get a second player to go in with me.
Crystals. Of course.
Well, does this mean that this is the last of the Crash Bandicoot games that we're doing then? Because there's still other Crash Bandicoot games for us to do. I mean, there's still Twinsanity, which is which is supposedly the best of the ones in the PlayStation 2. There's Wrath of Cortex, which is the actual fourth game. There's Nitro Kart. I don't want to do Nitro Kart, but Nitro Kart exists. And there's Tag Team Racing, which I've not actually played, but it does exist. I don't think either of us could do Crash of the Titans. And the other one, there is one other one that I keep forgetting about, but I'm relatively certain we wouldn't. Mind Over Mutant. That's right, it's Mind Over Mutant. And I don't think that we could do that one either.
Well, put it to you this way. I would sooner do Crash Bandicoot 5, which has not come out yet, and I think they should make another Crash Bandicoot game. Like, just because they sent Cortex to another dimension does not mean that's the end of Dr. Neo Cortex.
That's right. You haven't seen the 100% ending yet, have you?
Of course I haven't seen it. Who?
Okay.
Who has seen the 100% ending?
I have not seen it, but I know what happens in it. Okay, I know what happens in the 100% ending because, thankfully, other people, the people that I have watched that I actually love this game, have gotten the 100% ending.
Yeah. So, well...
Do you want that spoiler, Mr. Cloud? It's a very small spoiler.
I just want to know one thing. Does it have sequel bait in it?
It does, but it's not the best sequel bait.
There is no such thing as good sequel bait, I'll have you know, Mr. Greta, but it stands to reason that it either
such a thing as good sequel bait, like having our heroes go on another adventure to set up, continuing adventures for them. Yeah, that is good sequel bait.
That bringing the Crash Bandicoot franchise out of the dark, especially considering how graphically advanced video games have come since the 90s, when Crash Bandicoot was one of the original pioneers of 3D gaming, 1996, it came first. That 3D games were not a thing before Crash Bandicoot 1. And
it beats Mario 64?
It did precede Super Mario 64. Super Mario 64 was a close second. They came out in the same year.
Okay.
Which is to say, like, okay, maybe one was started before the other one, development time, scheduling, maybe actually, paying attention, testing the waters of the market before releasing their products. But the reason why I bring up how long it's been and how much time has passed since the original game came out, that now that Crash Bandicoot has been brought to the modern scene, they did it with Insane Trilogy, they kept it going with Crash Bandicoot 4. That was the point of Insane Trilogy, is to prime people to expect the next Crash Bandicoot game.
Yeah.
And now that we're here, we have played Crash Bandicoot 4. Now, gosh dang it, it makes me want more. And thank goodness, now that this game is out, and Crash Insane Trilogy had set the playing field, they have the assets to get the game rolling, and they also have the fan base on board who is now used to the way that Crash Bandicoot looks.
But There is a small problem with that, Mr. Cloud.
And what's that?
Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time comes out in approximately 2021, right?
Yes.
It is now approximately 2020X at the time of this recording, and we've not heard anything about Crash 5. Like, we can assume it's in development, certainly, but by now, I'm relatively certain that either you or I would have heard something more substantial than that.
Well, I mean, gosh dang it, we've been watching credits for the past 15 minutes now of a whole core of people. Suffice to say, I haven't been counting. Like, there has to be like 1,000 names on this list.
It's not 1,000. It's more than 200, but it's not 1,000.
So, just like with any project that requires more than just one person, that it is going to take some time to put a new game. Oh, the time puns! They just keep coming. It's going to take time to make a sequel, and we look forward to the results. Come on.
And
That's
don't
not
put
the
your
end of
employees
Crash
under
Bandicoot.
Kapuna for crunch periods.
Brought to you by Toys for Bob. And we hope you have enjoyed this Rock Rabbit Commentaries playthrough of Crash Bandicoot 4. We'll
Hey,
gloss
it's a
over the
dingo dial.
names of all the people involved. And we look forward to seeing you on our next project.
Be safe, everybody.